Hey guys, this video is about median and centroid of a triangle. So to start off, we're going to review just what a midpoint is. So for this warm-up, you're going to need a ruler just so that you can find the midpoint of each segment. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to measure halfway from A to B, so this is about 3.2 centimeters. So halfway from A to B is going to be half of 3.2, which is going to be about 1.6. And so I'm going to label that T. And do the same for each of the other segments. So 6.5, half of 6.5 is going to be 3.25. Midpoint of AC is going to be M. And then last one, from B to C, I'm measuring about 5.3, so half of that. Here we go. So the first thing that you're going to do is find the midpoint of each segment. And then you're going to draw each of the line segments. So from B to M, C to T, and A to N. Those are going to each be your medians. Okay, so if you do this correctly, you'll notice that all three of those segments cross at one point in the middle. Okay, so what you've basically just drawn, each of these segments are your medians. And the point where they meet in the middle is called the center. So here are your definitions. You can go ahead and jot them down on your guided notes sheet. Basically what you want to know is that the median is the segment that connects the vertex of the triangle to the opposite midpoint, and the centroid is where all three medians meet. So the median and the centroid creates also a special relationship between the side lines. So, for example, let's say I have this median AD. AP is going to be 2/3 the length of AD. So this is going to be 2/3, which means that PB is going to be 1/3 of the total segment. And that works for each of the medians. So let's try example 1. So if PT is 5, and P is the centroid of this triangle, we know that RT is then going to be a median. So if PT is 5, I know that that is 1/3 of the total. So PT equals 1/3 of the total. So PT is 5. I could solve for the total by getting rid of this 1/3. So I always do the opposite and multiply both sides by 3. So my total has to be 15. So if my total is 15, and this is already 5, that means that RP must be 10. And you can always check this because RP should be 2/3. So if you wanted to check, you could plug this in. So RP equals 2/3 of RT. 10 does equal 2/3 of 15. Checks out. Here's another example that's similar, and instead of giving you the small segment, this question gives you the larger part of the median, which would be PQ. So again, we have P is the centroid, which means that QM is our median. So QP or PQ is 15. Find MP and QM. So since this is the larger part of the median, I know that QP is 2/3 of the total. So 15 is 2/3 of QM. So again, if I want to get rid of this fraction, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal to cancel it out. You do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. So 3/2 of 15 is going to be 45/2, which is going to be 22.5. So if this is 22, the total is 22.5, then we can figure out what the small part has to be. So it's also going to be half of 15. So PM must be 7.5. You can check this also because if you add these two together, you should get the total. Okay? So another relationship that you probably have just picked up on is that the larger part of the segment, larger part of the median is always going to be double the small part. So if this part is 15, this is going to be 7.5. If this part is 10, that part's going to be 5. For example 3, you are asked to find the coordinates of the centroid of this triangle. So the first thing that we'd have to do in order to find the centroid is to find all of the medians. And that means we need to find all the midpoints. You have already learned how to find the midpoint of a segment using the midpoint formula. So go ahead and pause this video and find the midpoint of each of the 3 segments and then resume when you are ready. So after you've calculated all 3 midpoints, you can graph them on your picture and then draw in your medians just like we did on the front of this paper by connecting each vertex of the triangle to its opposite midpoint, and then you can see where they all cross. So in this case, our centroid is going to be at 4, 4. That's how you find your centroid on the coordinate plane.